Hi everyone. Hi Linda.
Hi, Andre. Good to see you. What's the
Likewise.
weather like where you're at?
It's warm today, pretty warm, close to 90, but it's gonna go down again.
It's cold in the mornings, but you get 80 degrees out here, but it's comfortable. It's not too bad.
Yeah, no, usually here, same thing, but it's also, there's a joke in this area where they say they call June January because you can still get some really chilly days, but then by July, it kind of settles in. July, August, half of September is pretty good,
Yeah,
sunny and yeah.
I will be I go to Canada and Vancouver this Saturday, and I'll be back July 2nd. Then I'm batting down the hatch. I don't go out. I don't like hot weather.
Yeah, who does? I know hot weather is hard. Yeah. So, what have you been looking at in your psychic attunement? What's been your
Well,
top?
I got a hit on Trump today, and sometimes, hey, listen, and it was correct. Did that thing, whatever they call, where you kind of go in the White House, but he wasn't at the White House, and then I realized, oh, because I was looking for him, he wasn't there. He's in Philadelphia.
Mm,
So the last time I did that, he was in the White House, and I heard him telling people, "I'm out of Iran. I don't care what you have to do." I don't care what you have to pay. I'm done with Iran. He was furious and he wanted out.
mm.
And he's even mad at Hedgehog.
Not surprised. I'm actually. What surprises me is that he hasn't axed him yet, but there's plenty of time for that because Hegseth, his chart is really caught in a vice that lasts for months and months, and so he's probably at some point going to look for sacrificial lambs because this thing is so bad. The only way is to distract and spin and come up with all these crazy ideas. I mean, the way he's talking, he sounds like a lunatic around the whole thing with the deal. He'll say, uh, well, not to mention that he's been insulting them and saying he's going to kill them if they don't sign and things like that. But just the way he's painting it is not at all what is happening. And the problem he has now is that real life is going to confront him because if things aren't moving, the economy is not going to move, and all of that, right? So it's a really
Exactly.
tough
Exactly.
situation. Yeah, absolutely.
And then he had the nerve while they were trying to work with him. He made some really rude comments about Iran and I'm going to wipe them out. And Iran found out that he was saying that and they walked away from the table. And I don't blame them.
Yeah. No, that's been and that's what his chart shows because July is very complicated. In fact, the other thing that will almost certainly show up again, and I don't know why or how exactly, but the Epstein files, because the Epstein files in his chart have a kind of a January, July connection because of that planetoid Eris that
Yeah.
is does the station. So same thing happened in January. I remember that I was thinking, why isn't something coming up? And sure enough, toward the end of the month, big dump and all kinds of energy, which then at the time was attenuated by the thing in Minnesota and so forth. But I'm curious because it's been in the background in the last while, but it's going to come into the foreground. And then the Iran thing, I mean, they're saying, well, gas is going to drop and all that. It might, but it's not going to drop fast, and nor are the prices going to drop fast. And in the
Which
meantime,
he's worried about midterms.
that's right. No, and in the meantime, you're noticing that a lot of the people that are more hawkish in the GOP are really upset because they don't want the U.S. to give away the everything, give away the bank. I mean, this thing with Iran is, and he keeps repeating. I mean, the man is nuts. He keeps repeating that his deal is better than Obama's deal. His deal is way worse than Obama's
Way
deal.
worse.
It's
Way
insane.
worse.
I mean, it's not even close. Just on the amount of money, like they're basically admitting, well, we went in and we bombed the hell out of you guys, and now we're going to pay you to reconstruct your country. What kind of a
Yeah.
war is that? That's nuts.
Did
This
you
is like,
see Congress? Was it the Senate or yeah? They voted against him. They turned on him. Four Republicans turned on him and said, "You can't do any more war without coming through us first."
yeah, and I mean, I'm hoping. I don't know if it'll happen because the GOP is so corrupt in this way and self-interested. But I'm hoping for more because the people that abandon him are usually the ones that are not going to be running anymore. Like
Yeah.
Massey and Tillis and all those
Cassidy.
guys. We need people that are actual Congress people to start to say, no, we're not going to do this. And it wouldn't surprise me because it's the same reason when you look at a chart and you start to see pressures, they'll show up. Like the thing where he gets more and more judicial decisions going against him because of where the Saturn is.
That's been happening right now. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like one judge, and this judge that said no way, is a Bush appointee, and he was an apprentice of Scalia's. I mean, you're talking really conservative people.
What did he vote on?
He said that this whole thing where they want to harass the Minnesota mayor or the Minneapolis mayor and Tim Walz, that is completely made up and it's just a way to weaponize, and it's not. He considers it completely illegal, and he said no, you can't do this. So you see that there's pushback in the areas you would expect, at least I would expect based on the chart, because you kind of look and you see this constant down energy, and it includes the people that work with him. So more betrayals and more, people that have to abandon ship. And some of that is probably going to be because, he had to do this because he's afraid of the midterms. But the midterms, the situation isn't going to change enough. And some people are going to have to start saying, I can't go with you on this, that, and the other thing, because the voters are going to keep asking them. Like they'll say, for example, what's going on with the Epstein files? How come no one is releasing them? What's going on here? Yeah, so it's a huge problem,
And they were talking about Susan Collins hasn't had a town hall in years.
Probably not good. She's going to have to start doing them because there's Plattner there, waiting to pounce. Yeah.
He's right on it too, let me tell you. And by the way, Javier Becerra for governor he's like 30 points above Hilton now.
Yeah, well, California, the only way, Republicans win there is in Trump's mind. Trump will say things like,
Trump is furious about the Congress saying there's a war thing, you can't do that, but he'll do it anyway. He don't care.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, this is where I just say to people, stay calm, let the process play out. I mean, if we see it, you can bet that Mark Elias and many other lawyers are seeing it. They're really gearing up, to hold the fort, because that guy that he put in there, that Pulte guy, the only reason that guy is there at DNI, he's not capable, he's not experienced enough, but he's the guy that was digging in, which by the way didn't go anywhere. He was digging at Comey and Letitia James and all that. But apparently, I saw this report where they were explaining that their whole strategy is just to harass people, because even if they don't get anything out of them, in other words, the courts say, no, we can't do that, or the grand jury says no.
They make them spend money for attorneys.
Yeah, may spend money, and I mean, it gives them a really hard time. And, now these people, now they're doing it to the people that were touching the pool. They're charging them with...
but in the meantime, no one's been arrested with the Epstein thing.
Well, of course, yeah. No, exactly. So it's we just have to, my sense is we got to stay calm through it and realize that the cycles are on the side of recovery, except that don't imagine for a minute that it's going to be an easy ride, because I can almost guarantee that this guy is going to try something, prior to the election.
The DNI thing, that guy's getting rid of all kinds of people. That means they're good people.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's another separate thing, that the people he's getting rid of, that exposes the country more to a potential problem because they won't be watching, right? So that's another issue. But I was just focusing on the election period because, where Jupiter is going in his chart, this is what this guy always does. He's a total lifelong cheater. He cheats everywhere. He even cheats at golf in his own club. He doesn't like losing, so he'll...
Yeah, and what he did to the Italian prime minister?
what he tried to do, because she
He
responded
said,
pretty
"Oh, I
hard.
felt sorry for her, so I did a picture." She said, "You're a liar."
Yeah, she
And by
did.
the way, we're not coming out there. I don't deal with liars.
She did, and she did it really well because, well, there was a then there was some other person. I don't know who it was, but oh, yeah, I know what it was. In the media, they call them an a-hole. So I mean, they're being harsh in Italy, right? But she just said what Trump has said is totally invented, and then she said uh, maybe he should try being friends with his allies instead of his enemies, because he seems to be more friendly with, Putin, Xi,
Right.
and anyone that is an autocrat, he's friendly with. Anyone that is a Democrat, he doesn't like them. So she made that comment, but she didn't overplay it. So she's keeping it. Otherwise, it would be keeping it like manageable. Otherwise, it would
Yeah.
get out of control with the insults. But yeah, no, she responded. So for sure, for
Oh my
sure,
God.
yeah.
What do you think about him signing that agreement in Versailles?
Well, that's funny. But the man is just—it's like he's like a walking, a walking
He's a
iron.
joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. Yeah, that he would do in Versailles, where they were, that's like a surrender type of uh, surrender imagery. Yeah,
But the good
100%.
news is his people are finding out who are. I see so many people saying, my neighbor that had the Trump flag up forever took it down. I mean, people are really getting pissed.
Yeah, they are. They are, and this is where still I always remind people that if you go by the numbers, there will always be 25%, 30%, like what happened with Nixon. They'll always have people that will stick with you no matter what. But if you chip off even 5%, it's a disaster. It's a total
Yeah.
disaster, because those are the people that actually carry you over the line. And then you put together the fact that Democrats are very enthusiastic to vote because they're really angry. And so then you have some, people that are GOP, they just won't vote at all. Some will vote against them, but some just won't vote. And the overvote by Democrats is what does it, right? And, this is where I did a video recently where I hadn't checked this, because I was saying, well, the Senate, but I looked at the Senate, and the Senate, it's almost certain it's going to be Schumer versus Thune. Schumer's charted. There's no way Thune wins that race. There's no way.
Really?
Yeah, because Thune's chart going into like January of 27, way too many cardinal planets that Saturn is hitting. That's the classic thing where a person is set back, put in a box, or they find themselves in a less than restricted position, right?
Right.
There are exceptions to that, but usually you would see Schumer's chart maybe also in a struggle. Schumer's chart is doing really well. So, I mean, like, what are the odds? It would have to be Thune keeps the Senate and Schumer is happy to lose. Schumer wouldn't be happy to lose,
No.
Sorry, but no, that
No.
makes no sense at all, So that's why. So, to me, they're both in play. And that would be, even though it's only a first step, it would be a huge victory. I had to laugh. You know that guy, James Carville? He used to
Yes,
be
I love him.
yeah, he's a really good analyst, but he's made predictions that just, he'll say something and it doesn't happen. But this one, he seems to be insisting on it. He keeps saying that he says Trump is going to take such a beating in the election in November that he's going to leave. Early in 27, he's going to leave. He's going to negotiate with J.D. Vance to get a pardon and try to work it out or whatever, and he's going to leave because he doesn't want to be there when all the. Now, I doubt that myself. I think the odds are
Because
better.
he's so egotistical. He doesn't believe when people don't like him.
That's true, and I think there are bigger odds that he has a health event that would cause him to have to leave. That's possible too. So I mean, the whole point is, when you look at a person like this and you look at his chart, if an astrologer knows how planets work, they would say, "Whoa, this does not look good. This looks really threatening," because you just put it all together. You see the foreign house like just full of problems, right? And look what he's done. I mean, I didn't know early in the year he was going to attack Iran. I mean, I didn't know
Me
it.
neither. No.
I just thought, well, the chart looks rough, but I had no idea what it would be. He walked right into it. He literally
I
made
didn't
the
know
chart.
Iran would win either.
You didn't know which?
Iran would win.
Well, yeah, that's true too. Yeah, well, they didn't win exactly, but effectively, yes, they won.
Yeah.
Yes, it's true. That's true. Which is, again, this is another humiliation because the U.S. has this enormous army with big battleships and really powerful, jet planes, but we don't have the drones. So now apparently we're trying to learn from Ukraine because Ukraine has been fighting for years and they've developed really good
Ukraine is
drones.
doing fantastic.
Yeah, which this is how Iran has become a real problem because they can send drones and they can attack installations in the Middle East and they can cause problems for the world economy and for the countries in the Middle East. So that's why they have the U.S. in a major quandary. Even though,
and by the way, Russia's getting hit hard.
Russia, that, by the way, there's a segue there. It's just an important thing. So Russia, yes, they're getting hit hard. And I heard this podcast a couple of weeks ago. An ex-CIA person was being interviewed, and he knows a lot of people in the background. Like he'll hear, much like good reporters like Maggie Haberman and Jonathan Swan, they managed to get, something that's going on in the Situation Room and all that.
They did a pretty good job too.
Oh yeah, totally, really good. But this guy was saying that his background people, because he knows people in the CIA, and he got the scoop, that apparently what is happening is that Putin is really hurting. Like he's in the bunker, basically, he's hiding. Nobody sees him.
Terrible. He looks terrible.
Looks terrible. And apparently Trump wants Putin to win. But Radcliffe, Radcliffe is the CIA head.
Yeah.
Okay, so Radcliffe apparently told Trump, well, no, you don't want to go for Putin because you're gonna back a loser. You should back the winner. That's why Trump hasn't been kind of getting involved, right? He doesn't want to. So, like, basically, the way the situation is now, the U.S. is not giving Ukraine any weapons. They're selling the weapons to Europe, and Europe is giving it to Ukraine. So Ukraine is still getting the weapons. So Ukraine, keeps moving forward, and they have a lot of drones that it's causing Russia a lot of problems. So the war, at most, if they have to do a settlement at some point, they won't get much land. They might get the same as they had before or close to it. That would be the best.
Well, they just took over Crimea.
I don't know about that. That I haven't heard.
It was on the news.
Like, I think they're trying. Like, they're basically creating problems, but taking over the whole of Crimea is really difficult. That I don't think has happened yet.
Well, the thing is, I saw the picture of, he told everybody to stay in your homes and away from your windows, which is surprising. Putin did. He was telling the nation, because they're just going over and hitting, but they're not really hitting civilians. They're hitting, places that really hurt, especially oil stuff. But the look on Putin's face, he looked like like Trump's been looking, like he's sick or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, situations like this will make you sick. And by the way, one of the disasters they encountered was the Ukraine sent a drone, and it hit some kind of oil thing or something like that, and they tried to hit it with one of their missiles, and they hit one of their own oil, so they created a huge explosion.
I saw that.
Yeah. So it's just a bad scene. Now, this is where this thing about Russia and the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that we're still kind of in, because even though Saturn now is beyond the Neptune degrees, it comes back, it's in the same sign. So these are the years that correspond to the 17 revolution, 52 when Stalin died, and 89 when the wall fell. So Russia is in the midst of a big change. I don't know how it's a good thing for Putin, because Putin has a lot of those Libra planets, and he's getting hammered. Yeah. So usually like 95 plus 99%, you have that much energy against you, you're going to lose. It's not.
And it's interesting because you always thought that Russia had this great army, and they're not doing well at all, and they're losing men left and right. And it shows his weaknesses. Plus they didn't want to spend money feeding these guys. And remember when they first putting them in the army, and they told them they had to bring their own sleeping bags and stuff?
Yeah, no, and I mean, these things, even if you pay them well, part of the problem there is that it's why it's caused tremendous economic collapse in Russia.
Yeah.
And eventually people get wise to it because they realize, oh yeah, you're paying me a salary, but you're sending me to the front. I mean, what kind of a deal is that? Yeah. So it's
The good news though is the lady who wrote me, whose son was on the USS, not the Nimitz, it's another one. Where she's the one that let me know they're not allowing any of the packages, the care packages they send to their families. They're sending them back or something, and they were starving. They're saying, "Please, Mom, I'm hungry." And so now, though, apparently they're going back. She said, "Linda, good news. My child's coming back to me."
I mean, they're leaving they're not fighting.
They're leaving the straits.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's
The battleships.
it's a really bad scene. That scene is, see, this is the thing. We had talked about this years ago. This is the problem that you say this is going to go in a certain way, but the planets had to lock in. It's just that simple. They had to lock in, and things have to arrange themselves in a certain way. Now, a year ago, people were saying Russia was winning the war. That's what was being said. This year,
That.
it's been changing and changing. In fact, Ukraine already regained some territory, and
I thought it was Crimea, but I guess I was wrong. Yeah.
yeah, no, they've gained territory in the Donbass, like they've got some
Okay.
land. Crimea, what they're doing is they're bombing the bridge, and they're creating a lot of problems for Russia. But
Right.
apparently, it's harder to like take it over, completely. All they're
Oh.
doing is like, which is still a lot, and I never know. It could get worse, as time passes. So, but this is from the Saturn in Aries getting deeper in Aries, which is where it's finding Putin's planets, and that's why he's hurting a lot. Where last
Yeah,
year
and then
wasn't
he
in.
bombs Ukraine and hits civilians and hits
Oh, yeah.
historical religious sites. What the hell's that about?
Oh yeah, well the Russians they're ruthless. They fight like the idea of you're in a dirty street fight and anything goes. So they don't care. Women, children, it's all valid. And by the way, if they do that, they'll say we didn't do it. That was the
Oh, they always
Ukrainians.
say that. Yeah.
That was the Ukrainians. Yeah.
Like the guy that ran against Putin and was doing really good, and he was shot dead from behind. Somebody shot him in the back of his head on a bridge, I think. He was walking a bridge, and everybody was upset, and Putin acted like he was upset. We're going to find out who did this. You did this. You
Yeah,
got
no,
rid of your competition.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it had to, this thing had to align. And the other person that is same thing that years ago we had said this is Netanyahu, because he went into this thing with Trump. He's got a whole group of Libra planets. So how does he now withstand the Saturn when the election is going to be in the fall? The man is toast.
He's not going. And also, that's so funny because, well, it's not funny. You've been telling us for a while that Putin and Netanyahu were pretty much going to go down around the same time.
Yeah, roughly. I mean, and the reason there is the Libra energy. This is that, I talked about this in a recent video with Starmer. You can see how Starmer came into the premiership in 24 with helpful aspects, but then starting last summer and especially this year, same thing. The Saturn moved in on him, and the UK ever since Brexit, right? Before Brexit, they had something like 3 prime ministers in 22 years, and since Brexit, they've had 6 prime ministers in a much shorter period of time, and it's because they destabilized their own economy. By leaving the European Union, they caused a lot of problems for themselves, and
Right.
you see it there as well. You see the breakdown in the
Well,
astrology.
the last I read, but I don't know if it's true because I didn't double fact check it. But apparently, Netanyahu has agreed not to bomb Lebanon anymore. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard, but the problem is that, see, here's the problem, right? We know Iran, they're probably about as good as liars as Trump is. They're both liars, right? Iran will constantly, spin and spin and spin. So they're saying we're not gonna open the strait if you're bombing Lebanon, but Netanyahu's gonna say, well, yeah, but they're bombing us, so that's why we have to bomb them back. And Lebanon, it's not Lebanon, it's Hezbollah, and Hezbollah is Iran's proxy. So Iran, you have to say to Iran, well, you gotta tell Hezbollah to stop shooting, right? So, but
Right.
you know what the Iranians do? They just keep stalling for time. And so this thing is going to get dragged and dragged. And they're saying, we're going to talk for the next 60 days. I don't know. This could drag on and drag on. And,
I think it's going to drag on. I don't
yeah,
see, but I'm not seeing any our military involved. I even asked mentally Trump, what are you going to do if Netanyahu brings out the goods on the Epstein? And he was almost like, I don't care. I'll say he's a liar. I'll say it's fake. It's a fraud.
look, he always does that.
So, but that's how desperate he is to get out of Iran. He wants out.
Yeah, well, he said it. I mean, the thing with Trump is every so often, especially now that he's has more and more dementia, the truth will come out. At least that was my sense when he said, "Oh, we had to leave because I was going to become, Hoover, because Hoover, for totally different reasons, Hoover became, the president that couldn't control the economy, and Trump knew that the oil reserves were running out, and he knew there's no more time. I got to
Yeah.
do this, right? So, but now the situation is unstable and dicey, and probably the worst part is that if it doesn't totally stabilize, and even if it does, which is extremely unusual if it did, it's probably going to be half-half. That means the progress on the economy is very slow, which means you don't have enough time before the midterms, to save yourself
Exactly.
from the disaster. That's the whole thing.
Especially with diesel going up another 50 cents coming up here.
Yeah.
But what was I going to tell you? That Hoover guy, he was the one, right? Was this during the Depression, or the Depression started around him?
He was the one that was in charge when there was the 1929 stock market crash, and he thought,
Okay.
at the time, he thought the way to solve the problem is to stop spending money, like go with austerity, and it was making it even worse. So then that's why
He
in
also
30,
believed in trickle down. So he gave landowners, because
yes,
my dad was born in 33. So wasn't Roosevelt in then, or was it?
32 is Roosevelt, yeah, and it was a
Okay.
reaction to the because Hoover had 2 years to try to do something, and in a situation like that, a country has to pump money into the economy. If you don't pump money in, even though you'll go into debt, the whole thing is going to crater, and that's how they brought Roosevelt in, and then they got the New Deal and
He
so
did a
forth.
great job. He talked on the radio. He told people, don't pull your money out of the bank. Do
Yeah,
me a favor, leave it in there. But this guy, I remember that the story was that he believed in giving like landowners who had fields to be picked, and give them the chunk of change, and they were supposed to build these homes for people to live in and work on the fields. A trickle down. That's part of what he called it. So what a lot of families did was starve. I mean, they put them in a shed, and then they had to work the land for nothing.
yeah. It's something that I've yet to. I got to research it. If anyone that is watching this video knows, please comment and leave it in the comments. When did the Republican Party of the Lincoln era, right? Because the Republicans used to be the Progressive Party; they were the ones
Exactly.
protecting. But at some point in the 20th century, or maybe a little before, I don't know. But this is the part of the history to research. It kind of turned, and they became the business party, and they became much more interested in, like what you said, trickle down, and and then the Democrats became the party that was more progressive and more in line with helping the people. There
So
was a
we
switch
know
there.
Roosevelt was a Democrat, and he was one of those people that believed in
Who?
taking care of Franklin D.
Oh,
Roosevelt.
Franklin D. Yeah, no. So
He
was
was
Teddy.
definitely a Democrat. So he was a Democrat. What was Hoover, a Republican?
Yeah, Hoover was Republican, and then the thing is that Teddy Roosevelt, and I'm pretty sure they're related. I got to recheck that. I should
Yeah,
know
they
it, but
are. They
right.
are.
So Teddy was a progressive in the early part of the 20th century, but I believe he was running as a Republican. So I'm guessing that something was shifting in the Republican Party because Teddy was saying, no, we can't do this business thing. You got to be more for the people. But eventually, probably 1910, whatever, like when Teddy disappeared, they started to tilt the other way, and then the Democrats took over the role of, defending the people, which is what Roosevelt,
Right.
and that's been like that ever since.
Yeah. There's Teddy Roosevelt was quite a character. I watched some biographies on him. He was really something.
Oh yeah, he was a bit crazy, but really intense. He would go on safaris to the Amazon, and I think he only lived to maybe 62, or he was
He
really,
had bad health for a long time.
and he was reckless. He was a reckless, like
He was
very,
that
very,
asthmatic. Yeah.
yeah. When you're
And
like that.
he was mad at the other Roosevelt.
Okay, that's possible, but again, I gotta be up on my history, and
Yeah.
then at times I'll remember, and then I have to refresh my memory. Your mind can only fit so much information
I know. I know.
before it
So
explodes. Yeah.
BB and Putin, both the charts look kind of yuck.
Oh, totally. BB Putin, and the other thing that's curious is that you see the Netanyahu Trump relationship. They have a lot of common energy because Trump has Jupiter and Libra. He's got planets in Libra. The Jupiter alone that connects to the Libra energy in Netanyahu's chart. So, and they even have Mars is in the states in Leo, so they agree on a lot of things. The problem is that because of this thing, now other facets of it are showing up. Like the Netanyahu has his sun energy really late in the sign, and that's not good for Trump's chart. And you see it in also in the combined composite chart that they're in a zone going into like through the midterms and next year. It's not a good situation, but it's because of the fact that Bibi's interests are different. He's trying to protect Israel, and now they're going to vote him out because they're going to look at him as ineffectual, right? And
Yeah.
in a way, he deserves it because he was paying. I believe, he was funneling it through Qatar and paying off Hamas because his theory was giving Hamas money to prevent the Palestinian Authority from having power, but you were giving money to the terrorists, and so I'm amazed that hasn't come home to roost already. In Israel.
Well, the things they did in Gaza were just horrible.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's
And
this
they
is
really believe that a Palestinian is not worth anything. They actually believe that.
it's a yeah. It's just
Another
terrible.
human being is totally worthless.
It's a terrible situation, and
Coming from a background that the Jewish generations have gone through, it's so weird that that's the same thing that the Nazis felt about the Jews, and they're turning around and doing it, but with a different. It's really weird.
Israel has taken a tremendous hit on world opinion.
Oh, and
Is
listen, it looks like, and I think even when we get our new president, we're going to stop sending money to Israel.
is that what you're seeing?
That's what they're talking about. They're talking right now of cutting it in half. I think Trump is so mad he wants to cut it in half, but I think eventually it's going to be gone. They're just not going to give Israel any more money. But I do see a woman taking over when Netanyahu's gone. And I think she'll be really good, but she won't be taking money from the U.S. We're going to help build things back together.
That's interesting. Well, yeah. I mean, Israel is in trouble because they the key reason is really overdoing, the revenge. I mean, everybody agrees that what happened in October of 23 was horrific, and that needed a response. But this has become like a, big, excessive, overloaded retribution, and so then you end up with people disliking you a lot.
Right.
So yeah, I mean,
I don't think Blanche is going to be called in as the Attorney General. Am I
you don't
wrong?
think? Okay,
Blanche?
that's a good question. I haven't looked at his chart in a while. Let me see. Like a lot of it is when. Do you know when they're doing the confirmation or
No.
the whatever it is in Congress? Let's see.
When is Blanche up for AG?
Well, Blanche. Blanche, I think.
They're saying who's Blanche?
Who's Blanche?
What's his full name? Do you know?
Todd. And Blanche is Blanche. Todd Blanche confirmation hearings.
He was confirmed as deputy general March of 2025. And then he's acting attorney general after Pam Bondi left. So there's no election for this job. The key date to watch is the Senate confirmation project
Okay, it says
process.
Okay, so it says next month. This was this was an article middle of June, so it's going to be in July. So in July, actually, he's got a shot. I hate to tell you, this chart is much worse next year. Which of course it'll probably be worse for other reasons because he's got pressures next year.
Yeah.
But July, because he's a Leo, Jupiter goes into Leo. There's less Saturn pressure until later. There might be enough. Like he has Saturn at 13 degrees. There might be enough, but to me it looks worse than 27. So I'm going to hope that he loses, but.
Well, yeah, if he's in there and Trump is gone and everybody's going before a judge, he'll be in big trouble.
Yeah, well, I mean, the thing is that whether it's Trump or Blanche, it's when you have enough planetary pressure, what starts to happen is like what just happened to Trump. The judge says, no, you can't do this. And then Blanche could be next. They could start, saying to him, you can't do this,
I loved it when
that.
they started wanting the transcripts for the grand jury. Show us the transcripts of what you said to get this person like Letitia James and stuff. Give us the never mind. Never mind.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like a common theme, a common persistent theme that you see, which in one way is dangerous because we know that these people are not very competent and they lie a lot. But the positive part of it is that they're less likely to be successful because they make a lot of mistakes. They don't plan properly. Like many times judges will say, why did you come into court? You don't have your documents. You got it all written backward with misspellings.
Yes.
So this is the thing that on the one hand, it's scary because you think, my God, these people are in charge. What might they do? But at least, it's better in the sense that they'll probably fail. And probably the greatest example is what they did with the war, because it's coming out now, according to people that in the background, like including this book, Maggie Haberman and
I ordered that on audio. I'll be listening to it.
Jonathan Swan, because apparently the generals, they told him what was likely to happen. And he said, oh, no, it'll work. They told him about the Strait of Hormuz.
Well, remember, he had Netanyahu on his rear, too.
Yeah, right. But this shows you, like, basically, if you're running against Trump and Netanyahu, you just say, these people have really bad judgment.
Yeah.
It's terrible
he
judgment.
Said that Iran was going to, as we speak, was building a nuke and was going to get ready to hit Israel.
Yeah, but
he
that's
swore
a lie.
by it, telling
That's
all the people. He lied.
That's a lie. That last year they were saying it was completely obliterated. In fact, that's another thing I heard. I heard that last year when he was saying remember they said it was obliterated.
Yes.
Nothing left. We killed it all. What was happening was that Vance and some others were saying the same thing, but softer. They weren't saying obliterated. So he got really mad.
And he got mad, yeah.
And he said, you all have to say obliterated with me. He wants, everyone to be on the same page. Now they look terrible. Like, that's the other thing. People that are worried about Vance, in case that crosses your mind, Vance in the near term, and I'm a little suspicious about this too. I don't know how this fits, but Vance's chart in November is much better than Trump's.
Oh.
Okay, so you got to fill in the blanks on that one. But don't worry, because Vance for 28, that's a no-go. The 28 thing.
He could think he's going to run, but he's
exactly. Like in fact, I would say there's some possibility that he might be president at the end of the year for some reason. It's possible.
Well, that's fine, but I don't think he's as dangerous as Trump. People saying he's more dangerous than Trump.
He's more dangerous than Trump if he actually became a long-term president. But no, in the near term, he's less dangerous. Yeah, for sure. Because
but then if he gets in, he would unless, like you said, Trump goes out feet first. But because
that's what
then
could happen.
He can't pardon everybody. Yeah.
Right, but the idea would be that if he gets in, he would. My guess would be that he would try to be more moderate to try to get elected in 28.
Exactly. And then he wouldn't want, because if it right now it's only 20 something percent of the nation was for Trump,
Correct.
then
Correct.
that would have, if he turned around and gave everybody a pardon, it would make the rest of them pissed off.
Well, that's the point. So, I mean, the problem for Vance is that there's so much water under the bridge that no matter what he does, he can try, but it's a really hard sell because people will call you to task about you said this, you said this, you did this, you did this. So,
Yeah.
and like what you just said, if he actually agrees with Trump, people will be mad about that. It's a total loser. But the thing is, in the near term, it looks pretty good compared to Trump's. Trump's situation at the end of the year is totally brutal. But
In the meantime, they say that Rubio's still wearing those shoes Trump bought him that are too big for his feet.
you know, it's so
Oh my
ridiculous.
God.
Yeah.
Did you ever see that show about the dog show? Well, Best in Show?
Best in Show. Yeah, the guy with
And
the
the
two
guy
left
had
feet.
two left feet.
I know Eugene Levy. I know.
That was so funny.
I know that movie and the one before. I forget the name of it. That crew. They're some of the funniest.
Oh,
movies
fantastic.
that you watch. Are
Fantastic.
really fantastic.
But astrologically for the United States, is there anything that you saw that we should be aware of, or?
Well, what we should be aware of is that, and this I've also said many times, it's at our cost. I mean, this situation that we're in, it's unfortunate that we have to, in a way, root for their failure in order to get rid of them, because God help us if they were succeeding at doing this. And the chart shows that because, for example, in July, there's a lot of Saturn. The U.S. is a Cancer country. There's a direct hit. Of course, people are going to be mostly upset. The Democrats can't stand this guy. They're upset for that reason. The other side is upset because they're always upset. They're always besieged. They're always playing victim. Nobody's ever happy at the moment. And so, and they're watching how they're doing this and they're not doing it well. So, yeah, the country is not in a great place at the moment. No. I mean, July, August especially.
Well, I really think that, the judges right now, if you turn on the news, any of them, the middle of the news, what's her name? I like her, Nicole
Wallace.
And you watch Lawrence. I love Lawrence, but he's losing, and all of these judges are saying, no, you can't do that. No, you give that money back. They're telling him now you can't take away from SNAP. They're telling him all kinds of stuff. So he just keeps losing.
It's true. I believe I heard someone say, an analyst that said, what's been happening is that the courts, because there are the three branches. So the courts at first in 25 were not on top of it. It took them a while to catch up. And so it took a few months and they started to bring in more and more rulings. And then now it's fully in. But see, this is what's really interesting. This aligns with the astrology. I always look for that. When I'm looking at the astrology, I go, well, if this is happening, it's got to happen. Otherwise, and I remember saying, hey, this looks bad for the courts and for judicial decisions. And it can include the Supreme Court because they turned them down on tariffs, for example.
Yeah.
We had to pay back, and there'll probably be more.
But they said he figured out a way around that. He's still charging tariff.
He is, but not with as much. You notice now, he doesn't do that thing. Oh, I'm going to put in a 25%
Yeah,
tariff.
now he told China, now you're at such and such. Yeah, China didn't give a shit.
Yeah, I know, China. But yeah, to put it bluntly, yeah.
I got to tell you, I know that China can be a little underhanded, but they're just kind of kicking back and watching the show.
Well, wouldn't you?
And they're not really getting involved. Like, they're not handing anybody anything.
No. Well, wouldn't you? I mean, if your enemy's digging a hole, let them keep digging. Don't tell them.
Talk about Putin looking weak. Trump's looking weak too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you'll notice, my friend, I don't know if you looked at, if this could be the last question, Hedgehog, you haven't seen him around. And McConnell too. They're saying he's probably dead, but they don't want to announce it because the governor can give a new, he's been dead. So, but Hedgehog, I really think he's worried that he knows he's going to lose his job. And they're just trying to figure out who would take his place.
Well, one thing is that I had said that next month, meaning July, was going to be a month when lots and lots of people in that cabinet are at risk. So I would be amazed if we got to September, say, and we hadn't seen one or two firings at minimum. And Hegseth is constantly vulnerable because now you notice what he's doing. He's pretending that it was Vance's fault, when in fact Vance said that he didn't think it was a good idea. He was one of the people that said this is not a great idea. Same with Rubio. They both said this is BS about regime change. It's not going to happen. Trump ran with it, and now he wants to blame Vance, right? But how well is that going to work? And so he may look for people to say, well, the bad look that Hegseth is creating, or, put something up to shift the conversation. Very possible, because Hegseth's chart is under a lot of pressure.
And if he's doing that to Vance, Vance may remember this. And then when it comes time for him to take over, he might not show that much mercy to the Trump organization.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, though, the whole thing is so bad, because if you think about what you just said, if Vance were to do that, then he would upset the people that like Trump. So you kind of host.
But there's not that many people.
Oh, there are quite a few. You're looking at the number of people that you would upset.
It's
would
the
probably
rich people.
It would tank your election if you because once you get rid of all the people that are smart that no longer back Trump, and you're left with that group they're like the cult, right? If you upset those people, you're in a lot of trouble. 10% may not vote, you lose. So it's a really tough situation for Vance.
Yeah, I see
Very,
what you're
very tough.
saying. Yeah.
So, yeah. All right, we've covered quite a bit of ground.
Friend. It's almost an hour. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it always goes by so quickly when you and I talk. Let's reconvene within the next 2 weeks, because I think now there's going to be a lot to talk about. This thing is going to ramp up, So
Stuff is coming up.
yeah, no, for sure. We're in it already. I mean, this is like day to day. We didn't even talk about the insanity of the reflecting pool. That's more of a B grade Netflix movie, but you see, Trump on steroids, just lying through his teeth. He just makes stuff up.
And he's focusing on, and people are trying to put food on the table and gas in their car, and he's worried about a pool.
Yeah, exactly. I know. And that's a minor thing. But, for example, each week that passes, the Epstein thing, I think is going to, something will pull it in. And who knows what else.
Maybe it'll be Netanyahu. Who knows?
Yeah, true.
Iran said, oh, you come to war with us and we're going to release. We have all the files. They never released nothing. They didn't have no files.
No, that's true.
They lie like Trump.
All right.
All right, my friend.
We'll say goodbye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.